Stopped the defending champion Quinnipiac women's rugby team's dominance this season. But would their success continue this weekend as they traveled up to Norwich?
And history for the field hockey team as it took on Georgetown in its first Big East bout. Becca Main and company looked for their first win of the season. How would they fare? We'll let you know.
And both the men's and women's soccer teams were in action this weekend. The men looked to finish strong in non-conference play, while the women hope to jump out to a fast start in conference.
Plus, Nadia Gill talks about her life in Canada in an all-new segment of Meet the Bobcats. Don't touch that dial. Sports Paws is coming up right now.
Good evening, everyone.
And welcome to another episode of Sports Paws. I'm John Frank.
Sorry, John, I jumped the gun a little bit there. And I'm Andrew Badillo. John, we've got a lot of stuff to go over. Why don't we get it going with the most dominant team on campus, the women's rugby team. They've been the hottest team on campus, winning 9 straight games dating back to last season. But the most incredible part of the women's rugby team's success this year has not been its ridiculous margin of victory. Instead, it's been the fact that it has played every single game on the road, John, every single game. In fact, the Bobcats will play every single game away from home except for one late in the season due to athletic field construction. Head coach Becky Carlson and her squad travels up to Vermont Saturday, where they trampled Norwich 64-3. Alona Marr and Emily Roscoff led the charge for the Bobcats with 2 tries each. Quinnipiac improves to 3-0 on the season with the win. It travels up to Pittsburgh Saturday, where they will take on Notre Dame College of Ohio. And now we're going to welcome in our Quinnipiac women's rugby analyst, Tom Cunningham. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me tonight.
Good stuff, Tom. I mean, this women's rugby team has been dominant ever since we've gotten here 3 years ago. We're both seniors. But why are, in fact, this year they're so dominant? I mean, they're beating teams by ridiculous margins of victory.
Yeah, Andrew, you said it. They've been dominant from the day we stepped on this campus 3 years ago now. And really, they're just a complete team from top to bottom. You mentioned that dominance of how much they're beating teams by, and in this 9-game winning streak, they've actually beaten teams by over 38 points per matchup. The most recent one is the most impressive to me, coming against Norwich. Norwich was so good a couple of years ago, one of the best in the country, really, and Norwich was really that milestone that teams wanted to beat. Norwich, the team that everyone was gunning after, and Quinnipiac just beat them 64-3 in the last matchup. Alona Marr coming to this program has been a huge difference maker. She's got 6 tries already this season, had over 20 tries last year in the run to the national championship. This team is just so complete from top to bottom. They've got players like Alona Marr, Emily Roscoff, Maggie Miles, Flora Poole. The list goes on of players that can contribute on any given day. And so coming in, teams have to game plan that they know 1 through 11 on the field can compete and can score and can do so many different things. I think that's what makes this team so dominant.
And Tom, a big deal, especially Andrew noted it, was they don't really have a home game the entire year. They have one late. How do you think that's going to factor into this season for them?
I'm not sure it's going to play that much of a factor. We've already seen them the first 3 games of this season, and they haven't had a problem on the road. And in fact, the last couple of years, this team's played majority of their matchups on the road. They only had 5 of 13 matchups last season at home. So this team is used to playing on the road. They're used to going far out west for some of these long road trips. And it's going to be tough because they were the national champions last season, no home games. It sort of stings, but I think they can play with a chip on their shoulder to get them some victories this year.
All right, Tom, we're talking about how dominant this team is, but really, is there one game on this schedule, pinpoint a game where a team might catch them off guard and beat them?
I think the team that has the best chance to do that is Central Washington on October 15th. It's a trip across country. You got to go to Washington to play this team. Central Washington has beat the Bobcats the last 2 times they played, including last season. This loss to Central Washington, 33-12, is the last loss the Bobcats had. So, it's really going to be a tough matchup. This cross-country trip, a lot of travel. Central Washington plays some of the best teams in the country out there on the West Coast. So I think that's going to be a really tough matchup for Becky Carlson's squad.
So, Tom, you pinpoint one game. Now, how would you pinpoint one player? Who's the one player that the team has to look for moving on in the season?
You hear the names Alona Marr, Emily Roscoff, Maggie Miles, Flora Poole all the time, and they are tremendous players. They're great. But the one name I'm going to throw out there is a freshman, Mika Maples. She comes into Quinnipiac this year after never having played rugby before in her life. She was a standout basketball and volleyball star in high school, and so now she comes in here to a whole new sport, and she's got 2 tries in her last 2 games. So I think she's really someone that could take some of the burden off some of the other stars on this team that are relied on so heavily to do the scoring. And I think Mika Maples could really be a spark plug for this team this year.
And Tom, while some may argue that this team is the best team on campus, they for sure are one of the most vocal teams on campus. They have the current construction that is going on at the athletic fields. The equipment is on their rugby field. That is why they don't have any home games. Tom, do you think that the university is respecting this team and they're getting the recognition they deserve?
I'm gonna say no on this one. I mean, defending national champs, you'd think they would push to have a couple more home games and just one thrown in at the end of the season. You understand that these athletic fields had to be built. This complex was something necessary for the university to take that next step to gaining that national prominence, especially in the athletic department. But it's tough. I don't think they're getting. I think they should have more home games. You saw it last year. They didn't really get the recognition they deserved when they brought the first national championship to this campus. So it's always tough, especially with this sort of construction. You have to pick a season to do the construction in. They happen to pick the fall, so that means rugby sort of gets a little bit pushed to the side there.
All right, Tom, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, field hockey played its first game in the Big East against the Georgetown Hoyas. Field hockey had a home game, but it was at Yale's Field here to take on Georgetown in its inaugural Big East game. Here we see a pregame ceremony, Andrew. Very important to them. We're going to look at the penalty corners. Very big aspect of this game as Michelle Federico is going to shoot this one. Going to get tipped in by Savannah Riley. That's the first goal for Quinnipiac in the Big East. Big moment there for Riley, her 50th career point. We're going to move on in the game. Another penalty corner. Georgetown going to block it. Think they got it cleared. No, says Inez Ruiz-Martinez. She puts it home. Quinnipiac takes a 2-1 lead heading into the second half. Going into the second half, here's number 30, Michelle Federico, going to snipe the bottom left-hand corner. Quinnipiac's going to go up 3-1. And moving forward into the game, Federico was not done. She's going to dial one up from distance. That one gets put home. Quinnipiac goes on to win this one 4-2 in their first Big East game. Here's the celebration after the game. And even bigger, here's Coach Becca Main post-game.
I feel, there's a bit of pressure that you want to make sure you're representing your university and you're stepping into this new conference. It's like when the whole school entered the MAC or when ice hockey entered the ECAC. What you do in the beginning is really going to dictate what you do for the future. So I think this is huge and it's monumental for us, and it's very important that not only we win the game, but we put 4 goals in. We've struggled to score, and you got to be able to score in the Big East, and you can't play defense the whole time. So today was a meshing, a unity of everything that we've been talking about and working on, and I'm just pleased there was a buy-in. When you're 0-6, you got to keep everyone bought in, everyone active and involved, and they've done a great job staying mentally tough.
Q30's own Kyle Lavasser and Josh Silverman broke down the field hockey team's performance after the game. Guys?
It was a game of firsts here at Johnson Field, the home of the 2016 Quinnipiac field hockey team. Alongside Josh Silverman, I'm Kyle Lavasser, and Josh, not only was it the first Big East match for Quinnipiac this year, but it was also their first win. Do you think that they made a statement to the rest of the Big East with this win, even though they started the out-of-conference matchups 0-6?
I think they did make a statement. It was their first win in the Big East, first win on the season. Before this, they lost 6. They were all out of conference. I think it's out of conference for a reason. They're testing their ability. They're going up against harder opponents than even the Big East. Although they only averaged 1 goal per game, which of course head coach Becca Main wasn't happy about. They got 4 goals here today. They won the first Big East match, in school history. I think they made a statement, although they only played Georgetown, who isn't a big team in the Big East, they're still here. They still came to play. They won. They didn't give up a lead like they have in the past, and I think that they can move forward knowing that they can compete with teams in the Big East.
Savannah Riley, her 50th career point for Quinnipiac today, as well as Michelle Federico having 2 goals, 2 key pieces for the Quinnipiac offense. What do you think was the difference for this offense?
In the beginning, I thought, they had a lot of great chances off the penalty shots, and, they were able to capitalize on those, getting 2 in the first half. Second half, who do you look to when you're only up a goal? Your senior captain, Michelle Federico, she took over the game, 2 goals in the second half that really put the nail in the coffin, and now they get to move on, and they get the victory.
Now, Josh, this is a new field for them. You see the blue in the background. We're at Yale University. Do you think that this new home field, seeing that their regular home field is under construction, caused a difference in today's game?
I think it did. Great coaches are able to find anything and give them team an advantage. Coach May was able to do that. I asked her in our press conference right after the game about the Georgetown goalie. She had her hand over her face the entire second half. Coach Main said she actually game planned for that.
I make the decision which direction we want to go. And before, a lot of times it has to do with the sun. You look into the sun, you figure out where the sun's going to be, what time it is. If it's 12 or 1 in the afternoon, you don't have much of a play. But when you hit this time, so we had already made that decision last time when we played Lafayette. It was nighttime, so we switched it around. So we could cognitively make that decision to try to be this way.
Great attention to detail by the experienced coach. For more information, you can follow us at Q30 Television on Twitter, as well as visit our website at www.q30television.com. For Josh Silverman, I'm Kyle Lavasser. We'll see you next time.
Quinnipiac was not able to sustain the high of winning its first Big East game as it lost to Bucknell Sunday 3-2, dropping it to 1-7 on the young season. Felicia Costanza and Angie King scored goals for the Bobcats. King also added 2 defensive saves in the losing effort. The Bobcats next take the field this Saturday when it travels down to Virginia to take on Liberty.
Well, Andrew, when we come back, the volleyball team continued its hot start, but how would it carry its non-conference success into conference play?
And John, we'll take a look at how the women's soccer team did this weekend as it opened up match play against Rider. We'll be right back here on Sports Paws.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Paws. In the end, we're here to win a championship this year.
Jess Fontaine now has that. She's going to take a ripper off the post, but she's going to come back. And my number one, hold your applause, Bobcats fans, is Quinnipiac.
All right, Victoria, you know what time it is. It's top 5 plays of the week.
My favorite time.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. Andrew, what a surprise the women's volleyball team has been this season.
Yeah, John, I mean, unprecedented success to this point. Last year, the team was 1-9 heading into what would have been this weekend's MAC play. But now, John, they're 8-5 heading into the weekend. The Bobcats headed down to New Jersey this weekend to take on Rider and St. Peter's. The team started MAC play this past weekend as it traveled down to take on Rider and St. Peter's. The Bobcats continue to surprise people around the MAC as they defeated both the Bronx and the Peacocks. The Bobcats have already surpassed their conference win total from last season, John, which stood at 1.
Well, Andrew, the women's soccer team took the trek down to New Jersey as well to kick off its conference season against the Rider Bronx. Quinnipiac dominated the run of play early, but Rider would net the lone goal of the first half, taking a 1-0 lead into the second stanza. Quinnipiac's Katrina Friedman would knot the game up with a goal, but it was Rider's Sophia Soares who would have the last laugh. Her 71st minute goal would be the eventual game winner, giving Rider the 2-1 win.
John, transitioning now over to men's soccer. Since Borja and Goita's departure a few years ago, the Quinnipiac men's soccer team has struggled to really find its new #1 netminder. But with a trio of potential candidates this year, there's an interesting goaltender battle brewing. Hannah Cotter has more.
Thanks, guys. The women's soccer team is practicing behind me now, but before that, the men's team took the field, where I had the chance to speak with head coach Eric DaCosta about their current goalie situation. The men's team has started 2 different goalies out of the 3 on the roster, including sophomore Chris Tatalo, senior Brian Westerman, and freshman standout Chris Yakovitis. Now, Yakovitis has had an excellent start to his season, making 6 saves in his debut against BC and recording his second shutout in 2 starts this season. But don't hand him the starting job just yet, because DaCosta said, quote, "It's been an open competition because of the way Chris has come in. I think we have 3 really good goalkeepers, but at some point, I'm going to have to make a decision about one goalkeeper. This is a game about rhythm and consistency, and you only get that by playing with players on a frequent basis. Especially in goal, you want to have a reference point. Eventually, we're going to have to make a choice, and whoever it is, it's going to be a good choice." So like Coach DaCosta said, it's really an open competition and any of the 3 players could have the spot. It's definitely something that you're going to want to look out for, especially with conference play coming ahead. Hannah Cotter, Q30 Sports.
The men's soccer team stayed home this week to take on in-state rival Yale. And where we head is the pitch where the boots get laced, the mitts get thrown on the keepers, and Yale took on Quinnipiac. Here we head to the first half where Sean Daly's going to cut up the sideline, cut inside, and be cut off by Yale's Cameron Rake. No call on that one. Still 0-0 as Yale's going to play a through ball here, but Chris Yakovitis says no, but the ball stays alive. Play back out. Open net. No, sir. Brick wall from the Quinnipiac defense. Still 0-0 until now. Ball played to the middle. Up top to Iman Whalen, who's going to get taken down. Daly shoots. Save, but Whalen gets up right through the center of the goal. Quinnipiac would take a 1-0 lead into the second half, where our action continues. Here we head to the second half. Like I said, Iman Whalen's going to dribble up the right side. He's going to pass it off. Here's a very nice opportunity for Quinnipiac. Shot saved by the Yale goalkeeper, and that one would not go home. Still 1-0 Quinnipiac, and the game would get chippy as Connor McCoy will take a Yale player down. The referee says, "Here's some mustard, you hot dog." That's a yellow card for the Quinnipiac player, but they would have the last laugh. Ball played up the middle. Iman Whalen with little cheek off the pipe. Quinnipiac takes a 2-0 lead and would get the eventual 2-0 win.
We said at the beginning of the season we're not going to lose 2 in a row, and obviously we lost against UMass Lowell, but coming out we thought it was very important to beat Yale, our rival, and we also are going to take this win into conference play and see what we can do there.
All right, John. Quinnipiac would travel up in their next game to face off against the Holy Cross Crusaders MAC Patriot League matchup. Holy Cross will get it going early on. They're going to score one right past Chris Yakovitis there. A nice little goal inside the 6-yard box. Quinnipiac down late in the first half, 1-0, but things would change rather quickly. A couple minutes later, James Doig is going to take a really ambitious shot right there, but he rips it past the Holy Cross goaltender. I haven't seen a goal like that in anywhere other than the Premier League, but Quinnipiac would find itself in trouble in the second half. Will Pusteria is going to get called for a penalty for a handball inside the box. He can't believe it. Holy Cross with a penalty shot right here, and the field goal is good, John. Right over the crossbar. Holy Cross cannot believe it. They feel like they've squandered a great chance, but they get another one right here. A header on Yakovitis, but it just goes wide with 2 minutes left in the game. But the Holy Cross appealing for a handball, and they would get it from the ref here. Quinnipiac cannot believe it. On the replay, it looks like the ball goes right off James Doig's hand right there and wide. Holy Cross would not squander this opportunity. However, right here, the goal is going to be scored. Yakovitis gets a foot on it, but the shot does go in. Holy Cross takes the game 2-1. And when we come back on Sports Paws, Brian Schwartz sat down with the women's soccer standout Nadia Gill in this week's edition of Meet the Bobcats.
Plus, Andrew, college hockey polls have been released. Victoria Retigliano stops by to break down the men's poll. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Paws.
In the end, we're here to win the championship this year.
Jess Fontaine now has that. She's going to take a ripper off the post, but she's going to come back. And my number one, hold your applause, Bobcats fans, is Quinnipiac.
All right, Victoria, you know what time it is. It's top 5 plays of the week.
My favorite time.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Qcash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Studio 125. Andrew, most of my friends live no longer than a 2-hour drive from campus.
Yeah, you know, John, me and you both, you're from Jersey, I'm from New York. A lot of us fall in this category, but women's soccer standout Nadia Gill does not. Our very own Brian Schwartz dives deeper into the life of the sophomore standout.
Hi, I'm Brian Schwartz, sitting down with Nadia Gill of the women's soccer team, and welcome to the Meet the Bobcats segment of Sports Paws. So Nadia, you're from Toronto. What was the adjustment like coming to this American culture, especially coming here at the age of 16?
Well, Toronto and Hamden aren't that different from each other. I mean, there are some food changes because just the way I ate at home and then the way I eat here and the way the cafe's set up. I mean, adjusting to living away from home and playing soccer in a different environment. But I mean, I had my teammates to help me and support me through that, so it wasn't too hard.
What do you do personally to help cope with moving here from such a foreign culture?
I mean, I talk to my parents a lot. I talk to my siblings. I have friends from home that I always communicate with. So if I ever need support or a reminder of what home's like, I can just pick up the phone and call them.
What are the differences in the play of soccer from here and back home?
Just at home, sometimes it's more technical, tactical. It's quick passes, one touch. Sometimes it's kick and chase. And then here, Dave and Stevie really have a different mentality how to play. They know exactly what they want the team to look like, so it's more of a learning what they want and then adjusting to the team and how the team plays.
So, I hear you have a dog living on campus with you. Why is that?
I mean, it's nice to have around. I was here all summer and it kind of got a little bit lonely, a little bit boring, kind of missed home, so he's like a nice thing to have from home. I don't go out, so it's nice to kind of go home to him and have him there, and just, it's like nice to have like another human, or I mean, he's not a human, but like another like living thing with you when you just want to be isolated from everyone else. He's nice to have around.
So you take him for walks around campus, around the beautiful quad?
I take him out, take him for walks, take him for drives. If I go out, he'll like come to my teammate's house. Like most people know him, bring him to a few classes, so he's nice to have.
What's your favorite thing to do here at Quinnipiac other than playing soccer?
Probably hiking the Giant. It's a really nice scenery. I'm from the city, so I don't normally go on hikes. I don't normally go into nature a lot, so it's really nice to have that around here.
I'm going to give you 3 rapid-fire questions. You're just going to tell me whatever comes to your mind right now, okay? Favorite movie?
The Blind Side.
It's a good one. Favorite food?
Salad. Caesar salad.
Caesar salad. Funniest teammate?
Ooh. It's a very hard one. They're like, all of our teammates are very funny. Someone who cracks me up is probably Caroline on the team.
Okay. So, thank you, Nadia, for sitting down with me today. That's your Meet the Bobcats segment for this week of Sports Paws.
The women's cross-country team raced to a second-place team finish at the Iona Meet of Champions in the Bronx on Saturday. The Bobcats finished ahead of 4 other MAC teams in the field of 10 teams. Emily Wolf and Kaylee Roberts finished in 4th and 7th place, respectively. Quinnipiac's next meet is the Paul Short Invitational at Lehigh University.
And the men's cross-country team made history of its own this week. The team took home its first Stony Brook Invitational title in program history. 5th-year runner Brandon Copley took first overall in the meet. Meanwhile, freshman Tommy Consalvo placed 3rd.
Yeah, you know, John, it was a good showing for that men's cross-country team. Well, the men's tennis team had a strong showing at the UConn Invitational this weekend as freshman Austin Yanone won the Flight C Singles Championship. Reigning MAC Player of the Year Kei Izaka claimed the Consolation A Singles Championship. The team is back in action next weekend where it will participate in the Connecticut State Championships at Yale.
Yeah, Andrew, good showing for the men's tennis team in that one. Well, the women's tennis team took home the Sacred Heart Doubles Invitational and then came home to Hamden to host the Quinnipiac Invitational. After an impressive performance in the first 2 days of the Invitational tournament, Proifan Lohap fell to Kendra Bunch of Drexel in straight sets in the Flight C singles semifinals. The Bobcats will be back in action on September 23rd at the West Point Invitational in West Point, New York.
Quinnipiac women's softball started its fall ball season this past weekend with a doubleheader against Fairleigh Dickinson. The Bobcats defeated the Knights 6-0 in the first game of the doubleheader, but fell in the second game 2-0.
And Andrew, as we noted earlier, the hockey polls are out. We're going to start with the women's ice hockey UCHO preseason poll. You got Wisconsin up top at number 1 with 10 first place votes. Second, Minnesota, the reigning national champions, just going to slide down one spot with three first place votes. Boston College, the runner-up from last season, they're third with 2 first place votes. And Quinnipiac, they're at 4th. They won the ECAC last season. And Andrew, moving on, we have the coaches poll where Quinnipiac takes first after winning the ECAC last season. Second, with a big jump from 4th to 2nd, is St. Lawrence. And moving on, you have Harvard at 3rd, Clarkson tied for 5th, and Yale surprisingly drops to 5th after being 2nd at the end of last season. And to note, Princeton finished 12th last year. They're put up as 12th heading into this season.
And yeah, John, rather surprising to see Yale 5th there, but it is a little understandable seeing that Alex Lyon left early last season. But looking back at the media poll in the men's hockey rankings, Quinnipiac at number 1, despite losing pretty much all of their senior talent, all of their talent last year. Michael Gartig, Travis St. Dennis, Sam Annis, and Devon Taves. However, they do get back the Clifton brothers. They were placed on that ECAC hockey all-first team. And now we're going to toss it out into the piazza where Victoria Rutigliano is standing by with her preseason ECAC men's ice hockey rankings. Victoria, take it away.
Thanks, guys. So the ECAC preseason poll came out today, both the coaches poll and the media poll. So right now I'm going to break down for you who I think are my top ECAC teams this season. Coming into the preseason, I have coming in at number 5, Cornell. The biggest thing about Cornell is they really didn't lose anyone significant. They still have their jam line, Jeff Kubiak, Anthony Angelo, and Mitch Vanderlyn, who are huge on offense, huge first line for them, and they have Mitch Gillum in net. Both these players and the goaltender coming back is going to be huge for this team because they have a safety net in net, and they know they have a top producing line on offense. Coming in at number 4 for me is going to be Yale. Obviously, they lost a huge player in Alex Lyon. He was the top goaltender in the ECAC with the best save percentage and best goals against average, and he had the best goals against average in the entire NCAA. So replacing someone like Alex Lyon is going to be hard. For this, they need offensive players to step up. I'm looking at players like Ryan Hitchcock, who I think has great awareness on the ice. He has great stick handling. And I'm looking at someone else like Joe Snively, who as a freshman led the team in points. If these two players can get ahead on offense, I think they're going to find more success. Coming in at number 3 for me is going to be Harvard. Yes, they lost the they lost Jimmy Vesey, who won the Hobie Baker Award. They lost Kyle Criscolo, but they have players who can be impact players. These are players like Alex Kerfoot, who was a line mate with these other 2 players. He had 30 assists on the season. He's a great impact player, and they need to look at players like Ryan Donato and Luke Esposito to really step it up on offense for this team. Coming in at number 2 now is going to be St. Lawrence. I think the biggest impact for this team is going to be their new coach, Mark Morris. The great thing about Morris is that he said the only way he would come back to coach in college hockey is if he could coach for St. Lawrence. This means they have someone who's passionate about the team and really wants his team to move forward and succeed, and that's going to be huge for this season. And coming in at number 1, I have Quinnipiac. Yes, they lost, according to head coach Rand Pecknold, 4 All-Stars in Sam Annis, Michael Gartig, Travis St. Dennis, and Devon Taves, but they also have they had such a deep team last season that they're going to be able to find success again this season. They have both the Clifton brothers, who were both named to the ECAC preseason all-conference team, and they have players like Landon Smith and Chase Prisky, Derek Smith, players who can step up, players who they're going to be looking towards this season in order to succeed. I also think it's very interesting to say that the last team to be named first in the polls and win the ECAC was Yale in 2010. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to see coming to this season if that'll happen. Thank you. These are my top 5 teams. Back to you guys at the desk.
Good stuff, Victoria. Our viewers are going to be pretty happy that you put Quinnipiac up at the top spot. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's edition of Sports Paws. John, I had a blast.
Oh, it's always fun to get on the desk with you, Andrew. And don't forget to check out our website at www.q30television.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Q30 Television. For all of us here at Sports Paws, I'm John Franklin. He's Andrew Badillo. We'll see you next time.